Welcome to the next episode of Hip Hop Reminiscence. We're back. I'm Joe Rosen, my co-host Fuzz Jackson. Fuzz, tell him hello.
Greetings and salutations from the planet North Carolina. I am Fuzz Jackson.
Hey Fuzz, before we dive in, you and JR from Wilmington, North Carolina, I just watched the movie Air last night, which was excellent. And a lot of it was, based on Michael Jordan and, Sonny Vaccaro coming to Wilmington, North Carolina. So there was a lot of Wilmington, North Carolina scenery in the movie, which probably wasn't in Wilmington, North Carolina, but was supposed to be in Wilmington, North Carolina. So
right.
It was a really good movie. I was impressed. I mean, I
hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the story. Yeah. We all know the story.
Right.
The only weird thing about it was that they had a Michael Jordan character in it, but he didn't say anything. You didn't even see him on the stage. So, but anyway, all right, we're back for our next rapper spotlight episode. We're like the sidebar of side. We have sidebars to sidebars in this show. So, but we started our first episode with our first rapper spotlight episode on Method Man, East Coast. Staten Island, well, really Long Island, but Staten Island. Now we're going to the West Coast for the second rapper spotlight episode. And we're going to talk about Ice Cube today. Our guy, Ice Cube, who kind of has some similarities to Method Man, right?
Yes.
Came from a group, was fundamental in forming the group. Then, he had a different type of exit from NWA than, Meth had from Wu-Tang, but then became a movie star afterwards, right? And a family-friendly movie star at that. But we will get into, right? Who would have thought Ice Cube would be a family guy?
Right.
That's
crazy.
So what we're going to do again is I'll give a little background. And then we will, I'll talk about, Ice Cube and kind of his history, his background, what he's been doing. And then we'll get into our segments and I'll kick it to Fuzz. Fuzz, you interject whatever you want to talk about Ice Cube. He's my guy, one of my favorites of all time. But let's talk about a little background with Ice Cube first. His real name is probably most people know is O'Shea Jackson. He is 53 years old. He turns 54 next month. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2016 as a member of NWA, and that's where he started in 1987 with Eazy-E and Dre. He actually had an initial group before that, right? They talked about that in the movie Straight Outta Compton a little bit. I didn't know what the name was, but it was called CIA. He wrote most of Eazy-E's and his lyrics on Straight Outta Compton's and Dr. Dre's too, and also on Eazy-E's solo album. Cube left NWA in 1989 after a very famous dispute with Jerry Heller, and he teamed up with the Bomb Squad and launched his solo career. His movie career, we're going to talk about, the solo career started in 1990 with America's Most Wanted, and that's what we're not talking about NWA here. We're talking about Ice Cube. We'll do a different episode on NWA. America's Most Wanted in 1990 was the first album. That's with the Bomb Squad. For people who don't know who the Bomb Squad is, the Bomb Squad was Public Enemy's production crew. So if people don't know what we've mentioned Bomb Squad a few times, but we probably haven't elaborated on it as much as we should have. People also forget, Fuzz, that he was in the West Side Connection with Mac 10 and WC, which was not around for a long time, but they had some cuts. They were pretty good, right? They were pretty good.
Yeah.
He had a big movie career, right? Meth's career was mostly TV. He did some movies, but Meth is more known for TV, right? With Cheese and Rodney and the Deuce. Ice Cube doesn't really have a TV thing. It's more movie, but Boys in the Hood, I think, was his first movie, where he played the great part of Doughboy. And that movie, Boys in the Hood, was obviously named after the Eazy-E album, named after his song that he wrote on the Eazy-E album, excuse me. He then co-wrote and starred in Friday in 1995, which is one of the best movies of all time. That it is still quoted to this day. And honestly, I love Chris Tucker. I think Chris Tucker is a great comedian. I saw Chris Tucker was in Air. He had a big part in Air, and he's the same. He's playing the same character he did in Friday, just like 30 years later. Like it's the same guy.
Right.
Cube has been in almost 50 films at this point. 50.
Wow.
50 films, including, and I'm going to name some of them. The Barbershop. I mean, there's a lot of like sequels and, a lot of trilogies. He was in The Barbershops, The Jump Streets, The Ride-Alongs. Great underrated movie from 1992, Trespass. You remember that movie? That was a great movie. God.
Yeah. And with Ice-T, right?
Ice, yep. And then Higher Learning in 95 with Michael Rappaport. That was a great one. Anaconda in 97. And Three Kings in 1999 with Clooney.
Yes.
I did not know this. He turned down Tupac's role in Poetic Justice. I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know that. Yep.
Did you know that? Did you know that him and Del the Funky Homo Sapien are cousins?
I did not know that, but that kind of like, I mean, they're very different rap. I did not know that they're first cousins.
I don't know. That I don't know, but I know if you check out Del the Funky Homo Sapiens album, his first album, I Wish My Brother George Was Here, on the outro. On the outro, Cube's talking at the end, and somebody's like, "Yo, I heard Del's your cousin." He's like, "Yeah." And he said, "How come he don't do that gangster type shit?" And Cube's like, "Man, I don't know. He's into that flower and handkerchief hat wearing rap." But that's a little skit at the end, and that's how you found out they were cousins.
That's awesome. I did not know that. As you know, I'm not a big skit guy, so I gotta stay away from that. And if it was an outro, I probably didn't listen to it at all.
You probably like, "Yo, I'm out." You're like, "Peace, I'm out." Yeah. Last track, I'm out. If it says out, if there's an O, I'm out. Like
I'm out. Absolutely. If I see that like outro 17-second skit, I'm done. Like that's it. As you know, his son O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is now a big movie star, played him in Straight Outta Compton in 2015. Cube has 4 kids. O'Shea Jr. is the oldest. We know he's a big hoops guy. He launched that 3-on-3 league like 7, 8 years ago. And you used to see him at All-Star Game weekends all the time. But he's a big hoops guy. Going back to, it was a good day, when the Lakers beat the Supersonics, right? Like, so he's always been, talking about it. His studio albums, and I'll be honest here, Fuzz, when we talk about his music, I think 99% of what I'm going to focus on are the first 3 albums, because the first 3 albums are spectacular. After that, it kind of tails off a little quickly. But America's Most Wanted in 1990, Death Certificate in 1991, The Predator in 1992, Lethal Injection in 93. Like, he was busy for 5 years, really busy. Have a Little Break, War and Peace Volume 1 in 98, War and Peace Volume 2 in 2000, Laugh Now, Cry Later in 2006. Fuzz, I didn't even know that was an album. Raw Footage in 2008, I Am the West in 2010, and Everything's Corrupt in 2018. So those first 3 albums had the same feel, right? I mean, and Lethal Injection tried a little bit, but kind of is a distant fourth in my opinion. Let's get to the first segment, Fuzz, and I want to ask you, well, before we get to the segments,
right,
your feelings on Ice Cube in general. Were you a fan growing up? Did you start listening to it later? Like we've talked about before, right? Like one of my favorite hip hop groups of all time is Mobb Deep, but I didn't start listening to them until about 5 years after they came out with The Infamous.
Right.
Were you a Cube guy? I know you're more of a New York boom bap guy, but were you a Cube guy when he was big?
Yeah, man. Look, I was a Cube guy, religiously, and there is one album. I don't know if you ever heard the album "Kill It Will."
But that's right.
Yeah,
that was an EP. That was an EP. Yeah.
And people forget, like, there were some bangers on that EP.
You're right.
And really good videos. And I also, you know what? A lot of people don't contribute Cube's videos. Like, his videos were really fucking good. Like, off the
they were
Kill It Will album, I think Dead Homies or whatever. I think That video was ill. All his videos really ill. I was a very big Cube guy, so big to the point when he left in NWA, I was like, I'm growing with Cube. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know. I'm not even from California. I'm growing with Cube right now. Very, very slept on MC, very slept on lyricist. And really street / political. Especially those first 3 albums. So Cube's that guy.
And I think those first 3 albums are so important. Like, we're going to talk about, what's the best album. It's hard.
It's very hard, yo. It's very hard, bro.
For the last 10, 14 days, I've been listening to Cube a lot, as we prepared to do this podcast. And I really focused on those first 3 albums. I listened to Lethal Injection a little bit too. I'll be honest. I didn't listen to the other ones as much. I tried. But the first 3 albums I listened to a lot. And man, you can make arguments for each of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can.
Yeah.
All right, Fuzz, his most unique rap characteristic, MURC. What's Cube's most unique rap characteristic in your opinion?
Great storyteller. I gotta put him up there with that. You know what? And honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm going out on a limb. He's probably the best storyteller on the West Coast.
I think that's probably true. Hickory Dickory Dock.
You remember Once Upon a Time in the Project?
Yes.
You actually it was like really watching a TV show. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was so descriptive and so just vivid. Like, yeah, man. He's one of the best storytellers from the West. Ever.
Give me Gangsta Fairy Tale every day. I mean, every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you I don't know if this is a unique rap characteristic or just a unique characteristic of him. But when I think of Cube, I think of anger. He's angry.
Yeah.
He was an angry rapper. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not just saying, people think
it works for him.
Right. People associate anger as a negative. You're allowed to be angry. I tell my kids that all the time, right?
Right.
You're allowed to be angry. You just have to handle your anger, right? When the Sixers just got blown out by the Celtics in Game 7, I was angry, but I really angry, Fuzz. I don't know what Joel was doing today. He was running molasses or something, but I was angry. But it's how you handle your anger, right? You don't go out and hit somebody. There's ways.
Right.
There's ways.
There's ways to deal with it.
Right. There's ways to deal with it, and he did it. And I want to get into kind of a serious thing on Cube, kind of that goes with the anger, right? So, I remember listening to NWA in high school. I remember listening to Cube at the end of high school when I was in college, right? And that's kind of when he was big, when I was in college. That's when Cube came out with Death Certificate, Predator, and Lethal Injection when I was in college. And I got a lot of flack, because I'm Jewish. And people would say that Cube is anti-Semitic. And I'll be honest, I've read a lot on Cube, and everything he's done isn't perfect, and I get that. But I don't put him in the same category as Kanye. Right? Kanye's out there talking about how Jews are generalizing, saying Jews are the devil, and all these types of things. Cube, to me, he used the word, right? You let a Jew break up our crew, right? In No Vaseline, when he talked about that. But to me, and I've read this, I never felt that his lyrics were anti-Semitic. I never felt that. I mean, if anything, they were more misogynist, right? When he's talking about horny little devil, when he's just bashing all white women, right? Yeah. And what was it? The Korea song? What was the Korean? I forget what that song was.
Black Korea,
right? When he's so yeah. I mean, I understand, but I never really felt like Cube was targeting all Jews. I felt like he was pro-black, Chuck D, X-Clan, you know what I mean? He was pro-black, and he disliked one guy a lot who happened to be Jewish in Jerry Heller, right? So I never really took it that way, but I think his anger was what got him through. I think that sometimes when you're angry, look, Michael Jordan, right? When Michael Jordan was angry, when Kobe Bryant was angry, they would drop 60 on you, right?
Right.
And and it was kind of like Cube. When Cube was angry, he would put out all kinds of hits. And so that's why I kind of like, to me, that's his most unique rap characteristic is his anger.
Right. Agreed. I could agree with that for sure. And I think because of that anger, we had some of the most influential records coming out of the West, man. Like
Absolutely.
By far, No Vaseline is probably the most, if not perfect, diss song ever in the history of hip hop, because that guy picked apart everything that he knew about his past group mates and used it to its fullest potential. And that's what you're supposed to do in a battle record. You're supposed to go for the jugular. You're supposed to, if I know personal shit about you that you don't want people to know, and now the beef is on to where we're never gonna talk again, I'm going. And that's what Cube did, man. And like you said, Joe, he made being angry okay. Yeah. Because like without all that anger, man, we wouldn't have had like the No Vaseline, Black Korea, Study Mobbin', America's Most Wanted, Once Upon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, man. And I'm glad to see that he's finally, getting his flowers, because without Ice Cube holding down the West in the old 90s, man, I don't know. It would have been a different game back then.
I agree. And NWA, obviously the anger started there, right? I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? Like it started there too. But I think like there are not a lot of skips, and we're going to talk about the skips because we do, but man, those three, I was trying to say like, all right, if we just take those first three albums, America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, Predator, are there any skips on it? And I don't know that there are. I don't know. Like,
I don't know. I really
don't
know.
Like, I mean, there's some skips in later. I'm going to give you my skip, and I think you might agree with me when we get there. But I don't know. I just think his anger, Chuck D, that might be, his MURC too. I mean, he was angry too. It was a different kind of anger, though. It was like, it was a different kind of anger than Cube had. Cube seemed more personal. Chuck seemed more like, I don't know, societal. Does that make sense?
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Like Cube was saying stuff to you that you felt like he was sitting right next to you in the car drinking a 40. Like giving you street shit. And like Chuck D, it felt like when he was rapping, he was talking from like a pulpit. Like
correct. That's exactly right. Like, yeah, that's exactly
that
right.
Type of vibe. Like,
That's exactly right. Best song. It's
best. Hard. Yeah, like okay, so I was gonna go off the Death Certificate album, right? But
okay.
I had to go back and I had to remember where I was when I first heard this. It was Augusta, Georgia. It was a hot summer day. We were going to the skate park. My friend had the 88 Caprice. Shout out to Dave Munoz. I love you, buddy. Reverse angle. I don't know where I'm going, but I love you. Caprice with the floorboard that caught on fire. We had to have a stop sign on the bottom of the floorboard to ride the skate park so it wouldn't catch on fire. He put in America's Most Wanted, and I was sold. So yeah, America's Most Wanted is my favorite solo. The first song.
Oh, the first. You got the song on the. Okay, so America's Most Wanted. That song. Okay,
we're going in tonight, Joe. We're going in.
I got it. Okay, so you're going, man. The first song I ever heard by Cube. Okay.
Yes.
It's really hard for me, and I think because I don't like when we talk about the albums. Like I got all kinds of crazy analysis and stuff, and I had a hard time.
Right.
Like, I'm like listing 1, then 2, then 3, or whatever. But
right.
I still think, for the exact reason you said, I think the best song is No Vaseline. I think it is the best diss song ever made. I don't even know if, I mean, there's some good ones, right? I mean, but I think it is the best diss song ever made. The beats are fantastic. The lyrics are fantastic. It's almost the perfect song. Even with the title, right? Like
right.
The title of No Vaseline, you're like, what does that mean? Then you listen to the song, you're like, oh, I know what that means, right?
Exactly.
So I think that is the best song, but there are so many, And America's Most Wanted is a really, really, really good choice. I mean, it's a really good choice.
Yeah.
What's your most underrated song? So, like, I mean, you could even say America's Most Wanted if that's your best song for him.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, but what's the song like when you were listening to? You're like, man, this is never gonna get any. Not like Cube got a lot of radio play anyway, but
right.
like the one that folks didn't talk about as much.
Well, okay, I'm kind of stuck because people did talk about it.
All right,
and people did give it a little bit of airplay, but the song was so descriptive because it made me feel like it was the day with Ice Cube in California, and that song would have to be Steady Mobbin'.
Steady Mobbin' is spectacular.
That beat, bro. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 5 brothers in the mothership.
It is fantastic. Yes, it is fantastic.
Yeah.
Steady Mobbin' was big. I mean, that was a big song for him, and I got one off the same album. And it's kind of like, again, not the most. I don't even know if this. Well, I don't know if this song could be made now. There's a lot of stuff that can't be done now. But I remember what I heard, "Giving Up the Nappy Dugout" the first time, and I'm like, "What? Again? What does that mean?"
Right?
You're like, okay,
you're like,
I know what it is.
Boom.
Right, Mister, before I let you go, I'm here to let you know your little girl is a hoe. Like that is, I know we're not supposed to be saying stuff like that anymore, but like that's, and like just the little side things in there, like Mercy, when she, that to me was an incredibly underrated song. And I'm going to say one more for underrated, and this just goes because of, again, time and place. We talk about this a lot. When I was in college and Predator came out, I think my freshman year, spring of my freshman year. And I listened to that, Wicked, everything. It was a good day, like, nonstop. But I remember when the song The Predator was on there, it was like, chocolate, I get crazy when I get wrecked, even be flipping the tongue like the diggity dung does. So like when he would, right? Like that song is the lyrics on that, because Cube, when you talk about lyrics, like everybody talks about how Cube wrote, Eazy-E stuff and Dre stuff and his stuff and everything, but Cube doesn't often get put with the best lyricists out there, and he should. Like, you know what I mean? Like you even said it. He's a storyteller. He is. It may not be a story you expect to hear. It may not be like a Slick Rick, Dana Dane, like, here's a little something, like, that kind of like that kind of thing. But they are stories. They're just different stories.
Yeah, and that's why I always kind of felt like, and it goes back to what you're saying, like Steady Mobbin' was kind of big, but I still felt like it didn't get the flowers it deserved because that song was so descriptive about his day.
Yes.
Even the part where he talks about stopping at his mom's house using the bathroom. Like all that shit. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It was just something about his pen game when it came to him telling stories. You know what? And I got another sleeper song. This was a posse cut. It's on the Death Certificate album, Colorblind.
Great song.
That song, that beat, do. Oh my God. Yo,
no skips. No skips on Death Certificate. No skips.
Skips, bro.
No skips. And all right, Fuzz, I'm going to go because I got it here. I want to talk about the 3 albums, right?
Okay.
Because can we agree? I mean, when we talk about the best albums, it's one of the 3, right? I mean,
right.
We'll talk about some of the other stuff later, but let's start. Let me pull up America's Most Wanted, and that has. I'm gonna name some, right? Love to Hate, America's Most Wanted, Once Upon a Time in the Projects, Endangered Species with Chuck D, A Gangsta's Fairy Tale. The original one is just like spectacular.
Right.
Who's the Mac? I'm Only Out for One Thing. It does fall off a little bit, right, at the end, but it's still really good. I don't want to say it falls off. It doesn't fall off. It's just the beginning is so hot. And then Death Certificate. The Wrong, My Summer Vacation. My Summer Vacation is another great story.
That's another one, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Steady Mobbin', Giving Up the Nappy Dugout, A Bird in the Hand. I Want to Kill Sam. Remember how much shit he got for that one? He got so much shit for that.
Yes.
Horny Little Devil, Black Korea, True to the Game, Colorblind, and finishes with No Vaseline. And then let me find Predator. I got to find Predator because it's here. I should know Predator by heart for when it came out. There it is. Wicked. Now I Gotta Wetcha. The Predator. It Was a Good Day. Dirty Mac. Gangsta's Fairy Tale 2. Check Yourself. And Who Got the Camera. So of those 3 albums, I mean, I'm going to go. What's your order of those 3 albums?
I'm looking at it right now. So my order, I'd have to go America's Most Wanted, number 1, Death Certificate 2, and Predator 3.
I'm gonna switch up. I'm gonna go Death Certificate 1, America's Most Wanted 2, and Predator 3. But man, it's close. And the only reason I think Death Certificate has no skip, like there's 0 skips on. I don't know if there's any skips on America's Most Wanted or Predator anyway. But Death Certificate is like bam, bam, bam. It was almost like Cube went out with America's Most Wanted, hit it hard. America's Most Wanted, I think, is more important in hip hop, right? For what he did, leaving NWA, working, combining with the Bomb Squad, who are an East Coast production crew. No one did that, right? Like it was like West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. You know what I mean? Like, so I think America's Most Wanted is more important to hip hop, but I think Death Certificate is just a little bit better, not a lot, just a little bit better. But it's really hard. It's really, really hard with those 3. Like even Predator, you can make a really good argument for Predator.
Yeah. You could, and on Predator, First Day of School,
right? Yeah, I missed that one.
Like, yeah, bro, like that shit, like that, like Cube. I think Cube was in such a zone at that time. Like you couldn't fuck with him, and I don't even know if people remember what soundtrack was that where it was like How to Survive in South Central? Rule number 1, get yourself a gun. Like right. Let's talk about that. Like even with the guest spots he did, like people forgot about like Burn Hollywood Burn with Public Enemy and Big Daddy Kane. The Lynch Mob album, like and that song Gorillas with the Gorillas in the Mist. Like he was Cube was like, no pun intended, but he was like wanted. Like he was like the most wanted MC for real on both coasts. Everybody rocked with him.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why, like, I think America's Most Wanted is probably more important because of that combination. It's like, it's not like Cube was beefing with the East Coast, really. But, it wasn't like, Biggie and Pac. It wasn't that type of situation.
Right.
But he leaves maybe the most important West Coast group of all time, right? The biggest West Coast group of all time, and goes and combines with Public Enemy's production crew, right? I mean,
like how crazy is that?
It's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. And you listen to Endangered Species with Chuck and him, and it's like just greatness. It's pure greatness with those 2 guys. And all right, so when we talk about skip songs, it's sometimes hard to talk about skip songs when you have someone like Cube and Method Man because they have so many albums, and there's definitely skip songs as they got older because, Method Man's still rapping, right? Cube's not really rapping anymore. His last album came out, I guess it was 5 years ago, but like he hasn't been on the rap scene really the way that Method Man's been. Cube is more of a movie star now.
Right.
Method Man is still a rapper who is on TV. I would kind of characterize him that way. But if you were to look back at those, like the kind of the first few albums, first 4 or 5 albums, we can even go into War and Peace. What's your skip song?
Bop Gun.
Dude, you read my mind. The song is 45 minutes long. It is. I listened to it the other day, Fuzz. Like, all right, we don't always agree on everything, but man, do we agree on this.
Bro,
right?
Yeah, yes. I wasn't a fan of that song at all.
It's like
it's an okay song, but it's just not the Cube that I'm used to.
It's not an okay song. You're being nice. It's not. It's like it's literally like 14 minutes long. And most of it is I don't like the George Clinton feel like that stuff anyway, the Parliament stuff. I understand when people like it or whatever. It's just not like the funk stuff I'm not a big jazz guy, a funk guy. I like it in hip hop. Like I love, I love Tribe because they're, they have the jazz beats and stuff, but I'm not going to a club to listen to cool jazz. Like I'm just not, I'm not doing that. And then that song, right? It's just the same beat. George Clinton just going, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even his raps in it are ridiculous. Like, what is he talking about in there? I don't even know what he was talking about. Like, I'm listening to it. I'm like, Cube, what are you talking about? The line, they don't make any sense.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think that was too like a part of the time in the era where when people that was all you remember that phase, dude, when people were just sampling the shit out of Parliament and Funkadelic to the point where it was like, stop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think he got caught in that one with that one, man. Like that wasn't like I understood it, but I just was like, nah, this ain't really cute, man.
I didn't really even understand.
In my personal opinion.
I didn't even really understand it. And you know what? Lethal Injection Lethal Injection is not a awful album. Like it's not the first three, right? It's not.
Right.
I mean,
that's
the first
for sure.
three,
that's for sure.
The first three, if you listed the top 50 rap albums of all time, those three would likely be on it, right? I mean, or
yeah, all three.
All three. But Lethal Injection had Cave Bitch, Make It Rough, Make It Smooth. I mean, this is like not even the full album I got up here. Hold on a second. It had a lot. I'm going to pull it up because I pulled it up, but it's like cutting off some of the songs. But it has a lot of, oh, really though? Ghetto Bird was a great song.
Yeah, Ghetto Bird was good.
You Know How We Do It, Cave Bitch. It falls off at the end. It does fall off at the end. But really though, Ghetto Bird, You Know How We Do It, and Cave Bitch, those are four really good songs. But Bop Gun, man, like I took my dog, right? Like I take my dog for a walk most days, and the walk is typically 20 minutes. I started on Bop Gun and I came back and it was still playing. Like it is. I'm glad we agree. We agree on that one. Like I'd like to say to Cube, right? If I got a chance, and if I got a chance to talk to Cube and say, "Hey, Cube, what were you thinking on this, man? Like, what was Bob?" And I get it. Like, guys change they do, they want to do different things and change their stuff. And LL Cool J does that all the time, right? Every LL Cool J album is like a different style. Like, and it's fine.
Right.
But I would ask him, like, what he was thinking. Just totally what he was thinking. When you think of Cube, Fuzz, what do you immediately think of?
Dude, when I think of Cube, I think of the West Coast. That's it, bro. Like hands down, like without Cube, there'd be no Dre, Snoop, there'd be none of that shit. Like he's like the George Washington face on the Mount Rushmore shit, like on the West Coast, bro. Like for real. And the thing about him too, he collaborated with like one of the Too Short album. Too Short in the House. I think it's called Short Dog in the House. The best song on that album is the song with Ice Cube.
Yeah.
So every and the stuff he's done with E40 and what was the song? Oh man. I can't think right now. But anyway, he's done so many collabs, man. It's been crazy. And he is the West Coast, bro, hands down.
Well, West Side Connection too. I mean that.
West Side Connection. Bow down.
Bow down to the greats.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's on all, like every time I pull up like an Apple 90s playlist, Bow Down is on it. I'm like, I don't even know Apple was going to know this. I think of NWA. I always think when I think of Ice Cube, I think of NWA. I think of Straight Outta Compton. Just because, we talked about it when we did the 80s albums, I had it second to Nation of Millions. I think you might have had, you had it right there too. And in the top
for
group.
Sure.
But that's what I think of, because Straight Outta Compton to me, when it came out when I was in high school, I almost felt guilty listening to it. Cause like, I'm like, am I allowed to listen to this? I don't even know if I am. And if my mom had caught me listening to Straight Outta Compton when I was in high school, I think she probably would have thrown the cassette tape out, because that's what I had. I had a cassette tape of it. But Cube, I mean, that's kind of what I think of. Like I said, I think his most unique characteristic is his anger. But what I think of is NWA, and what I think of is Straight Outta Compton. We did this
Yeah,
last
for
week,
sure.
and I liked it. Like we talked about, when we talk about individual rappers like Method Man, like Ice Cube, obviously Method Man, was and is in Wu Tang. Cube was in NWA, so it's a little harder to do this for guys like this. But saying
Right.
like, where do you put Cube? Like, who did Cube not team up with, or like what group could you have seen him? Like when we talked about Meth last week, um, I had mentioned like I thought Mobb Deep might have been a good fit. You know what I mean? That
Right.
type of
Right.
thing. Where are you with Cube? Like, where could you have seen Cube with?
I would have loved to see Cube do something with Souls of Mischief. I'd love to see that.
Okay,
I would love to see him do like an actual full on collab song with Dell. I would love to see him do something with. I would love to see him and Ice-T do a whole album together in their prime.
that's
That
a
would have
really
been crazy.
that's a really good one, and I think Ice-T, because that's how I feel about it too. Ice-T and Ice Cube had similar experiences.
Yes.
Ice-T is a little older, I believe. They came
Yeah.
from, I think, different parts of Los Angeles, I believe, right? I mean, Cube's from South Central. Not sure where Ice-T's from. We'll have to dive in when we do an episode on him. Um, but similar styles, similar. That could have been like Meth and Red, right? Like Ice-T and
Right.
Ice Cube could have been like Meth and Red, but you didn't see that a lot back then. You saw, Cube back then. It was just like you're part of the group, or you're a solo rap, you're a solo artist.
Right.
Later on is when they kind of start hooking up with other people. But I like the Ice-T combo. I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, because I during that era, Ice-T, like during the Power, Original Gangster, Iceberg albums, like he was a monster, bro.
Yeah, he really was.
He was a monster.
They did have, I mean, Ice Cube, I think Ice Cube is a bigger name than Ice-T. I mean, I don't know. Like Ice-T's been
Yeah, I don't
in,
know. Hey,
I don't
I
know.
like,
Like he's been in
yeah,
that TV show for like 20
yeah.
years,
And
right?
not only
CSI
that,
or whatever it is.
let
Yeah.
let's talk about
Law and Order.
Law and Order. Let's
Law and Order.
also talk which one is SVU, Law and Order
SVU,
SVU.
right? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
SVU. Yeah.
But let's talk about Ice-T for like 30 seconds. Let's talk about the Rhyme Syndicate.
Sidebar.
Sidebar. Sidebar. Let's talk about the Rhyme Syndicate for a second. Like
Yeah.
that, and if it wasn't for the Rhyme Syndicate, we would have never had Whitey Ford, aka Everlast. People forget that his first, remember, Ice-T put him on, and that whack ass video he had when he was in the boxing ring and everything said Everlast and shit. Like, yeah, so yeah, Ice-T and Ice Cube would have been a perfect, I think, combo. A full length album, or I would have been here for that, Joe, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Look,
that would have been awesome. Just like, how Meth and Red had the Blackout album and then Blackout 2, and
right.
they tour together. They're like, you hear about all these people being together for a long time. It's interesting to me. Obviously, NWA had a lot of beef between them, especially, not so much Cube and Dre, but Cube and Eazy-E, and then Dre left, and you know what I mean? I mean, Cuban, obviously they went after each other in No Vaseline, and the song that NWA had it on their album after Straight Outta Compton, which was their diss track, but it wasn't as good. And but you see, like, groups have issues, all the time, because they're together they're together with them longer than their wives and their kids and things like that. You don't hear a lot of stuff about Meth and Red. Like, I feel like they've been best friends forever.
Yeah. One of the best live shows you'll ever see, too.
Yeah, no, I bet.
Yeah.
I have not seen them. I have
put
not
that on your bucket list, bro. Put that on the bucket list for sure. Yeah.
I wanted so badly, again, sidebar 5, but I wanted to go so badly last summer. Wu-Tang and Nas came here to Mass, and I could not find anyone to go with me. Like, literally, I'm like, I don't know if this is a concert I, as a 49-year-old man, can go to by myself. I almost did, but none of my kids would go with me, which probably, I can get that. Like, they're young, and, these guys are not. But I really wanted to go to Mass. I've seen Nas before. I had not seen Wu-Tang before, but I really want to see Wu-Tang. And seeing Cube, I mean, Cube hasn't toured in a long time, right? So that would be hard.
Yeah, my homie, shout out to Owen Dollar. My homie worked when Cube came here a couple years ago to Wilmington. My homie Owen worked sound for that show and said, like, Cube and his people were so like professional, so cool. Like, you know, like Cube gave everybody curfews, be back in your hotel, like straight up businessman type shit, man. Yeah, respect on that for real.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to say, because I do get some flack, like, you know, as a Jewish guy, like, because I talk about Cube a lot, you know, because he's one of my favorites of all time. But I wanted to make sure I said that at the beginning, because I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what anybody's thinking except myself, right? But I've never thought that. Like, if you listen, I think the people that think he's anti-Semitic are people that just listen to him say a word and automatically think that because he uses the word Jew in a song that he's anti-Semitic. And I don't think that's fair, right? It's not like Jew is not a derogatory term, right? He's not calling us a name. He's just saying, you let a Jew break up our crew. And he's used the term Jew multiple times. But in fairness, Jew rhymes with a lot of things. I'll let him do it, right? It does. It rhymes with a lot of things. And when you're looking at it, right? As a rapper, right, that sometimes there are certain words that are hard to rhyme. And you made the point last week that you're a clean rapper, and being a clean rapper, like some of the words that are not clean, right, they rhyme with a lot of stuff, and that's why people use them all the time. So when you're a clean rapper, it's harder to find words that rhyme.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like when I'm in the studio making songs, man, it's definitely a task. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? To express yourself that way, especially when you're angry. Like,
no doubt at all. And I know, like, I know the Cube. When you listen, I mean, sometimes I think people overcomplicate hip hop, right? And look, I love Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar's raps are complicated, right? They're very complicated.
Yes.
I don't think Cube's raps are complicated. It's like straight 8 bar, like then the last word, just right to the point, whatever. So, all right, we're gonna finish here with 4 words with our man Fuzz Jackson. Fuzz, we'll do an Ice Cube themed 4 words, of course, and you get rolling. I'll throw out the words to you.
All right, let's do it. Lyrically, I kill at will if you sit me still. Steady mobbing. So you mean I got to chill? Not a NWA. I'm cooler than Ice Cube. Last name Jackson, like O'Shea. So what y'all want to do? 4 words.
Awesome. First word is angry.
I'm angry like Ice Cube in '88. No bomb album, no Compton stories, but I'm still great. They play me like distant cousins and they can't relate. Shout out to Ice Cube for keeping the bar straight.
Doughboy.
Either they know or they don't show. Another boy in the hood letting you know. These guys don't understand when it comes to lyricism. I just slay. Now they fighting shadows like Trey.
Love it. All right. We're going Debo, Tiny Zeus Lister, Debo from Friday.
All right. I'm snatching your chain and I'm taking your bike, and I dare you to say you don't like it. Get stopped on with my Nikes. If you try it, I'm like Debo, riding off with a squeaky bike with excitement.
And the last one is West Side.
West Side, my connection is so destined. Opposite of the East, so y'all got no questions. That's where some of my favorite MCs from. Even though I'm a boom bap MC, y'all all bums. It's the West Side connection, so bow down, clown, squeezing y'all noses when Jacks come around.
Love it. That's awesome. That may be the best one yet. I love it. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, this second episode of the Rapper Spotlight series on Ice Cube. As we mentioned, our first one was on Method Man. This one's on Ice Cube. We're going to keep rolling these out for a while. You can see us on our website at hiphoprem.com. Our Twitter handle is hiphopremin, REMIN. Fuzz, tell them where they can hear you.
Yo, when I'm not in my car sweating, you can check me out on Your Mom's Favorite Rapper, one word, on Instagram. You can check me out, Fuzz Jackson, on Facebook, and on Twitter, that's NorthJax, NORTHJAXX.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back really soon with our next episode. Take care.
Peace.